Jackson Radio Show.
Let's come back quickly to what we just heard from the sheriff in Florida. Whatever your views on gun control, when you go through the list of mixed signals and then the officer who stood outside and didn't act, or did not go into the building, law enforcement called to Cruz's house on 39 occasions over 7 years, FBI tipped off to threats, the armed resource officer did not there. We have a much longer list. I could go on and on and on. We don't have time for it in this hour.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. That was John King of CNN. He's reading off a litany of the systematic things that haven't been done, that weren't done, I should say, to stop the Parkland shooter. And it was a comedy of errors. I mean, people are equating it to Barney Fife and Mayberry. Glad you guys are back here listening to me, the Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255 if you want to call the show. This is, again, I love watching how these issues backfire on the left. They want to make gun control the central issue. What was it before this? Does anybody remember? Let me give you a hint, okay? If I were to talk in voice like this for an entire show, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Yes, Russia. Russia was the big deal. They had 13 indictments. They just indicted another person associated with Manafort, not President Trump, associated with Manafort. And suddenly we've pivoted from the biggest thing that could possibly be there, be happening according to the world of the left, what's interfering with the sanctity of the Democratic Republic, our rule of law and voting, et cetera, and they've pivoted to gun control. And what's funny is as you listen to these guys talk about it, you know what we find out? It's been repetitive. There's been nothing new. Barack Obama had 8 years to address it. More school shootings on his watch than any other president, and he did nothing. Nothing. We've talked about it. I've heard other people say it. I don't know who said it first, but I know this. The minute that we talk about school shootings, I immediately say, well, where do we protect ourselves? What gets shot up? Tell me where there is like, for example, if you're robbing convenience stores, we can all agree that the convenience stores get robbed, right? Or if you want me to get ethnic, gets robbed. Convenience stores gets robbed, all right? They gets robbed, all right? So, I know I said I added an S to it. Don't. My producers look at me like they love for me to make the grammatical mistakes, as if I can't understand the English language. Anyway, you know convenience stores get robbed. But you know the ones that get robbed the least? The ones that have police substations attached to them. Surprisingly, those rarely get touched. And you know why they put a police substation in those particular ones? It isn't because they're in suburbia, aka utopia. No, they put them in the ones that are in the worst areas. So I want you to imagine this. The convenience store that is in the worst area of town has the least amount of robberies. And what's funny about all of those that have those least amount of robberies is all of them have a police substation or a high police presence. And suddenly, in the worst areas of the country, the most likely targets of robbery don't get robbed. Liquor stores that have cops, security, don't get robbed. Federal government buildings don't get attacked. Can somebody tell me when's the last federal government building where someone got a gun in and shot a bunch of judges or attorneys or legislators or whatever? Name me one. When is the last time somebody went on a shooting rampage at the airport? And maybe I'm wrong here. I don't know, but I can't think of one. I didn't research this, by the way. Maybe you should research that and get back with me. But anyway, look, I don't know. But I'll tell you this, I go to the airport, I feel pretty safe. I was at CPAC, and they had armed security everywhere you walked. 2 dudes in uniform with, let me tell you, true assault weapons, the ones that have auto mode, standing around. I fist bumped every one of them. What's up, my brother? What's up, dude? Yeah, love seeing you guys here. Thank you for your service. Glad you guys are around. They had other police with dogs sniffing. They did the bill. Let me put it to you this way. they had all these conservatives in an area, hated people by the rest of America, by a lot of America, because of the press. Not a single incident, not a fight, not a shooting, nothing. There you go. So, when you look at these policies that these people are talking about, I would love for them to tell me where the guns are the issue. So here's CNN admitting, look, it wasn't that. Let's play the rest of that clip.
Whatever your views on gun control, the breakdown in the system here is just beyond stunning.
Yeah, and I would like to know more about the rules of engagement for this officer and exactly what was going on, that the surveillance was on a tape delay, which seems like an issue as well. And it must be said that Sheriff Israel was on stage the other night blaming an NRA spokesperson for her part in this when he is the one elected to actually serve these citizens. And it's unclear to me whether he knew exactly what went down, but he does have to answer for that. And the failures along the way people who failed along the way do have to answer for that. And we need to grapple with how these red flags do translate in something like an NICS background check. And the fact, by the way, that we tried to fix that in 2007 post-Virginia Tech, and that state governments have not been able to comply with filling that database, that's the bare minimum for making this preventable in some kind of way. And we do need to fix those things before we move on to other giant sweeping solutions.
Or whatever it is, you have to be able to think at least with two different tracks here. It's ridiculous that, the actual making the system work, and this is not the only shooting in which there's been, missed signals or things that should have been done. People were not doing their job of actually reporting these crimes that should have kept people from buying guns. This has been now a pattern over several of these shootings, and you have to be able to talk about fixing the system if you're going to try to improve the system that then has to trust the system is going to work. At this point, that's almost getting lost in the greater argument politically that's happening over what do you restrict, what do you change.
So not only did you have Mary Catherine Ham agreeing, adding emphasis, saying, yeah, well, what's a gun got to do with this? When people have done their part and the system breaks down, why is it that they want to blame the gun? But there was another lady that came on after her who was a writer for the Washington Post, and she even agreed. She was like, this is, you really can't get it. So here again, folks, is where the left overplays its hand. We're going to go for gun. This is the time. Go for the jugular. While Donald Trump is improving this economy, while the so-called investigation of Russia is spiraling on these people, so much so that they're willing to dump it to come back to the retread of gun control. And what does Trump do? Brilliance. Yeah, we really do have to address this issue that you guys are bringing up. Let's put the guns in schools. And not only that, we were wanting them to go to veterans. He's like, no, that's a layer. Let's give them to teachers. How dare teachers actually be able to protect themselves and the students in their care? I don't know about you. I'm from Texas. If you said to me a teacher was going to have a pistol, I'm like, thank you. I mean, we could take care of ourselves as kids because we all had guns in our cars anyway. But you know what? The front line of defense should be the teacher in your classroom. But I'm going to tell you what Jerry Brown did in California when we come back. Short break. You're listening to Kevin Jackson Show.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.